One of my favorite words has always been preface. Preface is defined in Cambridge Dictionary as an event that comes before something more important. I'd first really heard it used in books or in plays that I'd read for school, and I had no idea why it stood out to me, up until I started reflecting on not only my years at Chesterton, but everything that came before them too. I'm an only child, and from a small and kind of odd family. We were not religious growing up, and for most of my life, I was an atheist. My parents are both very smart and ambitious, and they raised me in Wayzata, where I attended the public school system. I was taken care of, I was doing well in school, as well as an elementary student can. And from the outside, I looked completely happy and healthy. And this was true up until 5th grade. I was just 11 years old when I developed anorexia due to the comments and attitude towards me from my 5th grade teacher. It crept up on me, and by the time I entered middle school, I'd lost close to 20% of my body weight. My hair was thinning, my skin was pale and bumpy, and I was 5'6" and 98 pounds. The worst of the disorder happened between 5th and 6th grade, and when 7th grade rolled around, the anxiety started. My parents weren't getting along, my friends weren't supportive, and I couldn't go more than a day without having horrible panics. A tween can only take so much of this, and midway through 7th grade, the depression ensued. I was just so tired. I felt trapped. I had no siblings to talk to, no religion to lean on, and no higher being to help me see my struggles as temporary. And this came in waves throughout the next few years, up until in my sophomore year of high school, I decided to attend a Halloween party held by my friend Mary. The other people at the party were her classmates from Chesterton Academy. I know what everyone says about high school parties, and honestly, I was expecting something similar. But when I got there, I saw maybe 20 people, all obviously close, and there was just an energy that I hadn't felt before. It may have been my first time seeing a group of students that actually cared about each other. It was bizarre. I don't think I stopped smiling that night. I talked with anyone and everyone I could, and one person even suggested that I come to Chesterton. Well, that was something I'd never thought of before. Moving schools? I mean, I hated where I was, but I had no intention of leaving. I went home that night, and I just started thinking. And as an only child geared towards math and science, you don't really think like a typical kid. And I made a little Venn diagram in my head that I remember well. These people had good motives, were easy to talk to, enjoyed being near each other, and were also teenagers. Okay, well, what separated them from the people I went to school with? It took a few days for it to click, oddly enough, but it finally did. They were Catholic, and I was not. I mulled over this realization, and I remember just bursting into tears. It all made sense. That emptiness and that grief throughout the years was finally explainable. I'd seen happy Christians, and I'd turned my nose up at it all. But I knew I needed to make a change. And looking back now, I can confidently say that I would be on this earth no longer had I not met those people when I did. I went to my dad soon after, who, to my dismay and surprise, told me that I was baptized by my Catholic grandma when I was a baby, and I didn't know until I was 16. My dad was waiting for me to reach this point of needed change in my life, all on my own, and I'm able to be thankful for it now. My grandma was so excited for me to start at Chesterton Academy halfway through sophomore year. She knew I would finally be in a place where I could be guided towards what's most important, faith. However, early morning on my first day of school, my grandma passed away. Once again, some impeccable timing on the Lord's part. He brought my biggest intercessor home once she had ensured my conversion. I just didn't know it yet. I spent the next year overwhelmed with about 50 tons of all things Catholic. Overwhelmed in the best way possible, though. It was so bizarre. There were so many customs and intricacies to this culture that I'd never thought to pursue. I'm not going to say it wasn't difficult, though. I did fail my first theology test. I learned an expedited version of all of salvation history. What can you expect? It was like speaking another language. I was growing so much with the Lord, all while being surrounded by some of the best people I've ever met. I'd never seen so many intelligent teachers. It felt like a different level than what I was used to at Wayzata. But the real difference for me was the friends. I thought that my crowd at Wayzata, who I knew made fun of me behind my back, was as good as it came. But I've never had such tight bonds with anyone my age until I came to Chesterton. These guys and girls around me feel like the siblings I never had. Wonderfully supportive and sometimes immensely irritating. I can be at my most vulnerable with the girls, who I might as well call my sisters, and it's because we share something so vital to a bond. We share faith. We didn't, but on June 5th, 2022, I received my first Holy Communion as well as the sacrament of confirmation. All of my past hardships weren't in vain. They were events that came before something more important. They were a preface to my time at Chesterton, where I have been shaped into a strong and ambitious Catholic woman. And these 2.5 years I've spent in this school, learning, struggling, succeeding, befriending, laughing, crying, and one time bleeding when I tripped going up the stairs, are a preface to the rest of my life. Thank you.